What is up, traders, and welcome to another live. Today we'll be trading the overall equity markets, and we have to say that we are pretty green on the day as we had an amazing banger here on SoFi Technologies, which is actually up 9% on the day and is number one here, doing volume about 84 million shares here on the overall NASDAQ, right? Which is a very, very good thing to see when we are trading a name, and we'll go a little bit more in a deeper dive as to why the trade worked. And we'll also analyze deeper the overall trade execution and the setup here that we had during the pre-market here. But before we get into that, let's go on to overall economic data that may have impacted the market, or it may have had an overall sentiment investor shift here in the overall sentiment. So let's take a little closer dive here at the overall Uplift Markets newsletter, which is right here, and let's go towards the overall trade rundown here for June 27th, or actually June 30th, which is today. Let's see. So the rundown. So to start off, we had economic data coming in, Chicago PMI, and it wasn't really too important. The market doesn't really factor it in right now. I think it actually came in a little bit lower than the overall expected. It really just depends here on what the market actually cares about and what they actually consider here to be important on the day. So if we can kind of analyze it here, maybe on a deeper type of basis here, and let's see, let's kind of bring it in here right there. So today we got Chicago PMI actually came in a little bit lower, but the majority of these economic factors are not really too important for the market. On Tuesday, so basically tomorrow, July 1st, we get JOLTS job openings, which is a very, very important number, as it will give us a little bit of an insight into the overall labor market, and kind of factor in if, even though we're having, for example, right now lower inflation, also it will kind of gauge a little bit more if the Fed is actually going to cut rates or not, and kind of give us a little bit of an outlook here on the economy. If we know the economy is slowing down, we have lower GDP, lower retail sales month over month and year over year, so it's just an important number to look out for, and kind of see the overall state of the economy. Are we still strong on the labor market, or are we weakening overall in the labor market? So yeah, some key aspects to look out for tomorrow. Overall, the markets and overall here, the futures were pretty much green on the day. Before the overall market opened, the stock futures climbed up on Monday as optimism grew around easing global trade tensions, right? There seems to be now a massive deals coming up here, and like truce here with overall trade and the overall kind of conflicts that the U.S. had with other trade partners. It's like that's getting resolved, so that's kind of nice to see there for the overall market. Chicago PMI actually came in like that, so fell below expectations, signaling continued contraction in U.S. manufacturing activity, which in fact does go with the narrative that we had lower GDP, right? The trade of the day here was Google. It was trading higher than the pre-market after a report from the information revealed that OpenAI has started to use Google's in-house TPUs, so tensor processing units, via Google Cloud. Now this marks a major shift away from NVIDIA chips and Microsoft Azure. So you see, these major LLMs, and they're trying to deviate, not be too dependent on a certain company. For example, not being too dependent on NVIDIA, nor here on Microsoft with cloud, with the Azure. So it's it's benefiting Google a little bit, but actually the market, or the overall stock, didn't really factor that in. We actually are down on the day, which is quite surprising. We also saw a nice downward move on NVIDIA. We'll get a little bit deeper into that. I think it's because of the news, but I don't really believe it's going to be any fundamental shift for NVIDIA nor for Google. It's just a little bit of a intraday catalyst here on the overall. But we were pretty bullish on Google because the OpenAI partnership validates the technology that they have. It also accelerates the commercialization of their AI infrastructure, and technical indicators are showing on the daily that we are above the key EMA levels, like the 50 EMA, and we would like to be long on a daily if we break above this high here of 181. But looks like we're finding some resistance, so this may be a double top forming, and maybe pulling back deeper And this was a very intense volume coming in, very intense buying, but we're not moving up. So it's kind of, a little bit of a precautions kind of, we got to be a little bit alert here. And what I mean by that is actually, I think it was on this day, pretty intense volume, but then, I don't know, we're just finding that resistance at 180. We're kind of starting to find that it's not too strong though. Overall, some key events overall to look out for here is going to be the vote on Trump's big beautiful bill. And also we're going to get the June jobs report on Thursday, which is a key to see, kind of gauge, where the Fed is going to go with rates, right? And I firmly believe we'll see one rate cut by the end of the year. And pretty much also markets are closing early Thursday and remain closed Friday for Independence Day, as we know. So July 4th, right? So let's see, let's go back. So let's go to the actual equities here. Let's break down this SoFi trade. So on the day, this was pretty much a very nice trade. I really liked it. Let's actually kind of switch this to the light theme so you guys can kind of get a better general overview. Kind of like it a little bit more. So here we go. Okay, so here's SoFi, right? The blue is the post market, right? So that's from yesterday's data, or Friday, because we're on Monday. And this is over pretty much pre-market data here, and it's pretty much yellow because that's where the sun comes out, all that, right? So we saw that we had a high here of this level, a pre-market high of $17.78, a pre-market low or a common area of support here of 1761, right? So all we had to do simply was wait for a break and hold on the intraday, right, on the actual open. So we got us around 640 here on the 5-minute chart. We actually got the close. We got the break at 635, right? And at 640, we got the break and hold above this level. So that was a long entry long here. Stop loss at the low of the day, 1760, which coincides with the pre-market low. And you just project some profit taking towards these resistance levels, 1, 2, 3, and that's where we actually found that ultimate resistance at R5, meaning that there was no other way for the stock to go higher, because it's matching with the daily all-time high. So I'm expecting a pullback here, but that was a very nice area to initiate a short position or take profit, at least after this big nice move that we saw here on SoFi. And that was a pretty nice strategy, right? We have the pre-market high, pre-market low. Once we break above it, it just continues to trend towards the upside. So sometimes it's as simple as that. We just got to factor in our precise entries, right? And keeping, like I said, the risk overall constant, not having to risk more than we can afford to lose, right? That's always job number one as a trader, right? You gotta have that risk management factor within, or else you won't survive pretty much, right? Even if you have let's say a higher than 50% win rate, but your risk to reward ratio is not favorable, then it's going to lead to ultimate losses, right? So it's very important to consider that. Looking now toward, let's say, a little bit of Nvidia here on the 5-minute. This is where we saw this downward move, I guess, with the OpenAI kind of deal that came in with Google. Pretty much kind of gave the idea there that there wasn't that overall heavily reliance here on Nvidia's chips, but I just said, like I said, we're recuperating above it now. I don't think it affects the company on the long term, any fundamentals at all. So kind of important to know. And obviously they're gonna start to de-escalate from these companies. So let's use a 50 EMA here. Let's try to make it a little bit thicker so you guys can see this. That's here we are. So we have a pre-market high. So here it is, right? The pre-market high here of Nvidia and a pre-market low, right? So using this trade strategy right here, right? We had a pre-market high. We tried to reach it though at the open, a little bit before the open. We failed to reach that, and we actually broke below the pre-market low. So this 158 break was a short, and obviously the price targets or profit taking should have been here towards the pivot point here, this level. See, it's mark it down a little bit better, towards this level here and towards this level here. Obviously it doesn't generally like I said, it doesn't have to be the precise touch of it. Like for example, this case here, right here, we almost got towards it 150. We were off by a couple cents, but like I said, it's a general area when it comes to support and overall resistance lines. It's not a straight out flat number, right? Or we're waiting for the exact touch of it, right? It's just giving us the idea that it's a general area around there, right? So here, this momentum here, shifted, and this candle this candle closing higher than this previous one showed that overall the buyers were now emerging, and it was just a matter of time before we emerged higher and actually got in towards the VWAP here, and actually reverted the move, right? We actually found support again here at the pre-market low, a little bit of resistance here, but it's like the stock is trying to pull back, maybe find support here towards VWAP. But yeah, Nvidia, it's been on a tear. On the 30, there's been evidence here, based on the volume and technicals here, that the overall it's prone for a pullback, as we've seen a little bit more of a decline in the bullish momentum here on Nvidia, especially on the longer term time frame, which is obviously being reflected here on the 5-minute, which gives us obviously it's not going to reverse and be it's not going to crash, right? But it's prone for now a correction, and natural find some support or some demand here at some lower levels here on Nvidia. So that's probably what we're seeing here on the day, and a simple trade breaks below the pre-market high. You can even use a 1-minute chart, a smaller time frame, if to kind of get the move. You kind of want to scalp it, I guess. So I guess this break here, maybe this break here. So this lower break, and then the break of 157.91 with the stop loss here at the high of 158.60, and targeting these levels here. So it would have been a nice $2 move, pretty profitable. Looking now at Palantir, let's see, it's been ranging on the day. It's been kind of a mess, right? And yeah, it's been nothing but a mess, honestly. If you look at a 5-minute, looking at a little bit of a longer term time from here, it's been strong. It's still strong. It's still kind of rebounded from Friday's lows. We had that extreme imbalance sell-off, and we've been nothing but increasing from there. We actually found support twice again. We're above the 50, so we could say that relatively it's strong on the day. It still has some room towards 140, but it kind of was consolidating here at the beginning of the day. This is the pre-market low and the pre-market high. So we actually broke above the pre-market high, closed above it here at 137. Around here, this candle at 845, and that would have been the propulsion towards the long side. And it's funny to see how we found support there at the pre-market low. Here on the intraday value, we actually kind of pulled back, but we found support there as well again. So a very a lot of choppy action here on the Palantir, just giving us a little bit of a little bit of doubt here on the name, and also it's also giving us the overall confirmation that the stock isn't too strong on the day, right? And also it's it's being prone for a pullback. I mean, that intense sell-off that we saw on Friday was just intense. Like it went, let's see, on this last minute candle, 1250 towards one at the close, 1250, 137 open, close at 133. So $4 move in just 5 minutes. No, that's pretty tough, honestly. A very downward move right there, very down. Probably next area of resistance where we'll find that is a $140 level. So if you don't achieve that level today, we'll probably reach that of the upcoming days, right? Especially a little bit before the market closes, and probably see some momentum probably towards there. If not, then perhaps tomorrow. Now the next thing that popped up here is Hood, which is doing an absolute amazing thing. Oh my god, look at that move. Yeah, it's doing miracles on the daily chart. And I think today is a crypto meeting, but to see the same thing, pre-market high, pre-market low, broke the pre-market high, tested it again here at 805, giving us another opportunity. If you missed this trade, if you missed this entry, came back, found support exactly there, bounced off, and recuperated above VWAP. Buyers found the support and also held the 50 EMA. So, seeing that confluence also, gives us the overall confidence in the name, and it's just, been moving up since there, and looks like there's no limit, honestly, to this name. On a 30-minute chart, it's been an absolute runner, absolutely amazing name. Kind of consolidated here for a little while. Just kind of, taking a break from these intense moves that it's been having here, but really, really strong name, really. And the fundamentals are, good to see the fundamentals are finally adding up to the name. I was actually looking to be along this name ever since the $30 level on the daily, but totally forgot about this name at all. I wonder how Weeble's doing, because they're very similar and very competitive. So maybe Weeble can see some type of kick here. Let's see, $11. It's pumping up. I want to see on the daily. This thing has potential, but based on the IPO anchored VWAP here that we have on the daily chart, it's below it, so technically sellers are still in control. So maybe we don't want to go in yet, but this one does have potential, right? This one does have a lot of potential here. If it does break above the, let's say, the VWAP here, let's say this $19 level, that would be fully long towards areas of 53 and etc. Surprisingly, we're not seeing that momentum yet, and we're only seeing it in Robinhood, but not in Webull. But I think this one can catch up slowly. It's kind of like Nvidia and AMD, right? So I just have to wait till this thing sets up a little bit more. Give it some time, be a little bit patient. Looking at this name, this one popped up on my scanner here on the volume gainers. It actually broke above the found support at the pre-market low and rallied, but we didn't even get near the pre-market high. It was quite suspicious, and it kept halting, and there was this volatility halts. Honestly, this name wasn't really good to trade. I didn't trade at all. I just saw the price action. I was like, yeah, I'm not looking to buy this. This one here, this we buy, looks like nobody's buying this, actually. Totally pun intended. But yeah, we had a pre-market high, so if we take this off here, so I don't confuse you guys, a little bit of my charting here. It is a pre-market level, so we actually kind of held it a little bit, and so we didn't break above the pre-market high there, and we broke below it. That was the initiation of the short there around $8, targeting around these areas here, and actually found the bid. Buyers actually came in here, and now we're seeing a bounce maybe towards the VWAP is the next area of possible resistance there. Now we may find some overall supply in the name. I wouldn't be surprised if we do here on WeBuy, but not too favorable. Looking at the Tesla here, like I said, it's been a mess. There's a lot of inconsistencies with the longer term time frames and the short term. Is that there's not that confluence or match of the time frames. Like a 30-minute is saying that it's bearish based off the technicals, and the 5-minute on the days says bullish or bearish, etc. So having not that match, like that mismatch, doesn't really give us that confidence. And look at the stock, it's just pretty much consolidative, kind of digesting what's going to go on, especially after the Robotaxi reveal that it had in Austin. There was a lot of speculation there, and I firmly believe that they're almost there. Tesla, I'm bullish on the long term, but on the daily here, I'd say on the intraday, it's not looking too good, especially if we see the volume contracting and the momentum kind of not going either way, neither towards the bullish side nor the bearish side. So we're seeing kind of an equality in the momentum, which, as you guys know, if there's an equality in the momentum, then there's no upside in either way. So yeah, probably going to stay away from this name until it sets up on a longer term time frame. So maybe let's see, zooming out, looking at the 30-minute chart. It's been below its 50 EMA quite heavily, and as you guys can see, it's been rejecting it a lot of times. Here Friday rejected it, in the pre-market it rejected it, even today it rejected it. So when we stay below the 50, like I said, we tend to give the benefit of the doubt towards the overall sellers, right? When the price action is below the 50 EMA, the yellow line, we tend to give the sellers are in control and the buyers are not, right? But when we are above it, for example, if we kind of zoom out on the days, right, when we are above it on the 30-minute, we tend to give the benefit of the doubt towards those overall buyers, right? Buyers were in control, fell below it on this day, and we've been declining ever since then, ever since Tuesday, June 24th. So it's been approximately almost a week of a decline on Tesla. So it could have been a nice short initiation, maybe a slow swing using some options, going long, some puts, maybe a long put of 340, 338 long put, maybe key even levels 335 long put right there. So yeah, not too bad. I kind of want to, I don't think I have the volume on here. Let's see. There we go. Let's see. Volume, weighted, moving average. Pretty much. I think if we use a 50 on this would be quite well, actually, kind of gauge the momentum here of these overall sellers. Let's see. Oh, that's right here. Oh yeah, it's right there. Okay, it's just, you couldn't see it because it was very, very thin. There we go. So yeah, we've been below that key, just moving averages, right? So it gives us a show that the sellers are not in control here on Tesla. I'd like to break above, maybe if we break here, we close above the 50 and maybe break above maybe 325 would allow us to find the next area of resistance towards let's say 338 to 345, around there, these areas. So if we have that nice break there, we can target these levels right here, which are prior areas where I think there's going to be a lot of liquidity around those zones, so it may halt the upward momentum that we can see in Tesla, right? So yeah, I'm looking overall not too bullish on this. Actually, it's bearish right now on the day. Yeah, so far. Let's see. Looking at another name now that popped up is SoundHound. Actually, this one's been pretty strong today. Looking at the 30-minute chart, it's actually been above the 50. It's been kind of teeter-totting between it, but now it's above it quite well. Looking at this on a 5-minute, let's see. So yeah, this one really closely follows VWAP. This volume weighted moving average there kind of really follows VWAP a lot, kind of similar. There actually found support there, but it's been bullish, right? We're above the 50 EMA. We're also above VWAP, and we're also here on the zone. So if the stock does decide to pull back here on SoundHound, this would be a very nice confluence zone here, where support may be found here. Some buyers generally here at this range of 1056 under 1053, which, like I said, is matching because we have number one, the 50 EMA. At this zone, this yellow line, we have the 50 EMA. We also have the VWAP, so I'll be looking really bullish if the stock declines here on the day towards this area, and see if we see some type of bounce, maybe that decline, right, and then see a nice and decisive bounce above it like this, that would allow us to fully have the confidence in the trade and go long, targeting the overall all-time highs, or the daily highs here of SoundHound AI. I think this one was really factored in and heavily. It's been an investment here, but by Nvidia. I believe I read a little bit of an earnings report there, but it's not really too bullish on my opinion here on the numbers. But on the day, though, if it does pull back, then I think we'll find some support there around that area there, that confluence zone. That's another name that popped up is ONDS, and we actually remained below the overall VWAP and the 5-minute here, and also the 50 EMA. Let's see on a 10-minute chart. Yeah, showing that overall bearish sentiment, right? Not looking too bullish, to be exact, right? So not at all. Here, same thing for Intel Corporation. This name is just a mess. I really think the CEO messed up the stock. They fell really behind here on AI. As you guys know, I'm not bullish at all on Intel, not just because the stock has been declining, but this is one of I firmly believe that this is one of the stocks here that actually the technicals do match the fundamentals. They've fell behind in AI. There's no innovation. They're always mixing up the CEOs. They can't find that precise leader, that can kind of, give a different edge to the company, kind of, turn things around. And until they find that person, honestly, it's not going to be looking good for any shareholders. I believe I plotted some of the VWAPs. I went back, almost back testing it, 20 years. And actually, if you've held Intel for the past 20 years, you're actually now losing money, right? So it hasn't really been too good of an investment, unfortunately, for investors. And obviously the stock is being heavily reflected upon that, with just downward moves and, heavy downside selling, especially from institutions. There's a lot of short positioning here. I see, a lot of the options flow, a lot of, put volume, and, it's not looking too good on the company as well. And then the stock is obviously reflecting not just the investor sentiment, it's also reflecting the truthful state of the overall company. So it's kind of unfortunate here, but the overall setup was pretty easy. If we have the pre-market low here, and we have a pre-market high, right, and we have this downward move, then the break of the pre-market low, pretty much this 22.92 break, kind of prompted the sell, and we could target towards the S1. That's where we found support, and that's where we found the buy. So we would target towards that, kind of take some profit around that area. And we're still remaining bearish, here, because we're below the 50 EMA, we're below the VWAP, and just kind of signifies that buyers are not really in the name. They've pretty much they're not here on the name. And looking this on a little bit of a longer term time frame on the daily, or on the 30-minute chart, we were actually holding quite well for a couple of days, ever since kind of June a little bit. But now we're actually below here the 50 EMA and the majority of VWAP and all that, kind of showing that the buyers are not here, not intense. And I see some further downside here. Actually, the break here of $22, $22.50. I see some more downside here towards Intel here, maybe towards 21.87. I see some further downside there, so not looking too good. Very unfortunate. SMCI, I'm actually really bullish on this name. It's been increasing in volume, and let's see. Yeah, it's been increasing in volume. It's been holding quite well. It's overall EMA, the 50 EMA, quite well ever since this day. I'm actually long here, a little bit of a swing trade here. I really believe in the company. I'll let you see how we were below the 50 EMA for the majority of the time, and we were actually on the downside, pretty bearish. Once we got above it, right, we saw that upright curl towards the upside on the close, right? So this day 45 break, so that would have been the initiation of the long term, or I guess you can say like a swing trade, kind of for a couple of days, because it's above the 50 recuperated. Actually, we came back a couple of times and kind of tested around this zone, $45 around that. We had this here, we fell below it for a little bit, for a little while, but we managed to recuperate above it actually today in the pre-market, which is quite well to see, showing that the momentum is still towards the upside and that the buyers are still present in the name. And they actually they came in, they bought it at a discount, so it's very nice to see this overall momentum shift in the overall SMCI. And it's looking quite bullish, I'm not gonna lie, right? It was kind of consolidating for quite a while. It was giving these moves intraday a little bit, fell below. It was kind of leading investors in a little bit in a confucius state, but this nice move, this nice increase here in the volume and the momentum has also been increasing. I've been using one of these indicators as well that I've been here developing, kind of measuring the momentum, and it's showing a little bit slowly now that increase in the momentum, which is what we want, especially towards here the bullish side, right? Which will form that confluence. So looking now at a 5-minute chart, let's say that the stock opened up quite well, pretty strong on the day, actually went above again, like I said, the pre-market high, which is here around $48, and we held the pre-market low, so we didn't fall below that, and actually found support at $48.30, and we actually capped up, and we passed this R1. We actually got towards $50, 50-50, so that those even levels are really important, some for profit taking and some selling. But overall, investors, they've been really bullish on this name, right? And I believe that so as well with the increase, the rise in Nvidia. Slowly, this has to be bought up. And I know I have a bullish case on this name. We actually formed a double top here. around here, so we try to break these highs. We pulled back towards VWAP, this confluence zone. We had some bids, right? If I should actually, if I can zoom in on the chart, so we had, let's see, so we had this nice move, bid, pulled back, bid again, but we found this double top here. We actually pulling back, but we found support at the 50, and like I said, buyers are generally in control of the trend if we are above the 50 for the majority of the time, right? And we can see that here and here. So I'm expecting to see a hold and bounce here off the 50, and it would be fully long if we break above this 49.95. So I would expect some buyers here around this 50 EMA, and also forming confluence with this prior resistance level that we broke here. So this R1 pivot point. And yeah, we would, if this would be a long position, I would initiate here and put my stop loss around this low, or even towards this low, and try to target the the pretty much the overall day highs, right? Because this name is bullish, and underlying it's strong on the day because we're above the 50 EMA. Let's see another name that popped up here on the volume here. Let's see, let's just mark this here. This confluence zone, I'm liking this, right, for the long side uptrend. Another one was Cypher. Pretty strong name, right? Not bad actually. How much volume does this do? Okay, average volume is 28 million shares. Doesn't look too liquid though. The pre-market, you guys see this little chop. Usually when I see this in their name, I'm like, I don't know, right? It just doesn't give me that that overall confidence in the name, right? I kind of don't want to trade it at all. But it was this exact same setup. We had let's say a pre-market high and a pre-market low. We kind of undercut it for a little bit, but we found buyers around that area. We went above VWAP here now, this blue line, and we went above actually the 50 MA, and this break here of the pre-market high. So this break here and this propulsion, so I'd say the 452 break was a long. We actually pulled back a little bit, but as long as you had your stop at a prior most recent and relevant higher low, right, following the trend structure of an uptrend, right, higher highs and higher lows around maybe here 441, you could have targeted, like I said, the next area of resistance, or where we may find that supply towards the next pivot point. And in this case, let's see, we zoom out, we actually found it right there, and that's where we found resistance right there. So like I said, these levels are pretty much no joke. They actually give the precise areas of resistance or supply where these market participants are looking or waiting to slowly enter and add into the positions here on for example on Cypher, right? If it had a nice bid all the way up to R2, and that's where we found the resistance. You can tell obviously by this intense inverse hammer candle right here that we saw right there, signifying that there was some selling, bringing the price down. Also this break here, right? So still looks bullish, right? We just found resistance there, right? As long as we remain above the 50 EMA, we should look for long opportunities, right? We don't want to go against the trend because we want to have the odds of the trend in our favor, right? The majority of the probabilities will be in our favor, like I said. And if the stock does decide to pull back a little bit of a deeper correction and break below this 464, which would be the next, which would be expected to hold here because it's an area of support here, this area, then I expect the stock to pull back and find some support at this confluence zone because it's matching with, number one, the 50 EMA, and number two, it's matching the intraday VWAP, right? So having two levels matching an area of support, right, of the demand, just gives us extra confidence if that's what probably we will find sellers if, like I said, if we pull back and see that deeper correction on Cypher. Let's see, looking at another name here was Grab. I haven't heard about these names. Mostly they just pop up here on the scanner here because we're doing the Nasdaq volume gainers. Obviously there's more out there, but let's see if we open a list, we can kind of get all US exchanges. Just look at the volume gainers here on so we had BBAI. Well, this one actually good that popped up. I actually have the video live if you guys actually want to check it out. We had a video uploaded on the channel where we deep do a deeper analysis here of BBAI, and while we're really bullish on the name, and that was a swing trade opportunity that's being held, and we're actually seeing that reflected on the 5 minutes. So it's nice to see that the overall pretty much trade idea is working so far, right? And it's obvious, right? Because the fundamentals are kind of adding up a little bit, but the technicals are showing intense buying momentum. So feel free to check the video out. I'll leave it here in the description as well, so you guys can get a little bit of a deeper dive on the video, and how we are bullish and what the price targets are for here pretty much Big Bear AI here. Really bullish on this name. So yeah, you get these overall names. So actually on the pre-market, you get, for example, SoFi. Like I said, I already described that strong trend. There's a very strong confluence zone where I would like to buy the name if it does pull back here on SoFi, right? But it's quite nice to see that. See, going back to where we were, we had, let's see, Grab, Google. Yeah, Google, same thing. Let's say, for example, on this day. So on the pre-market, it's sometimes trading is as simple as it can be, right? I've noticed here from from personal experience, and from a couple of fellow traders as well, that the more you try to complicate the market, the less returns you get. Like, the more you have to complicate something, right, the less it comes out good. And what I mean by this is that I ultimately feel like simplicity is the market's ultimate disguise, right? When you have a strategy and you go by the basics, right? The key support or resistance levels, breaks, or VWAP and all that stuff, the basics, right? You tend to have more confidence. You tend to have less of a doubt in your strategy, and you just go for it, right? So I think that's what the market is signaling, right? That pretty much simplicity is the disguise of the market, and I firmly believe that here, right? I mean, just look at this. We have a pre-market high. Just ignore this price action, right? So let's say we're in the pre-market, right? And we see Google popping up on the scanner, and we're like, okay, let's see. We have a pre-market low of $180, so this area low, right? And we have a high that was formed at 181.95. Okay, so we say, all right, I'd like to be long if the stock breaks above one. Let's see, let me put this as red, so signify that's like a high where sellers came in. So I do my thesis, and I'm like, okay, I'd like to be long here. Let's actually put it together and analyze here. Maybe make it like a heavy color. Let's see, like that. Okay, my case is right. One, long if break and hold above 181.95, which would be the pre-market high. My second case here would be short if break and hold. I swear this autocorrect is so weird. Below 180.24, right? So having this in mind during the pre-market, I know what my cases are, so that I have it already planned. I plan the trade, and I don't have to pretty much doubt myself when the trade does actually come, or be influenced by, let's say, news or any price action that may happen. So okay, I have that, and then the market opens, right? So we have this, and then boom, we're like, okay, we see this candle, and we say, okay, a break of 180, right? And this would be the short initiation right there, and that's what the market actually did, and we could have targeted towards the downside, right? So being as simple as having key areas of support breaks or key areas of resistance breaks does give the overall confidence in the trade here. So just having that thesis, that's why it's important to analyze things before the market opens, so you have those key areas and you don't get influenced by current trends or the pre-market, all that, etc. And so obviously this could have been played a lot of ways, right? If through equity, like I said, or if you want to have that extra leverage, you can use options, right? A simple, let's say, 180 long put. You follow the trade exactly, and you just take profit around when you see the stock bouncing. So maybe around here, this would have been an out personally for me, because this was a hammer candle, and also this candle broke above this high here of this candle 176, so that would have been an out for me. personally, right? So honestly, it's not bad. A $4 move toward the downside is quite nice if you already have the plan trade. So quite nice to simplify things here on the overall market. So kind of consider that, for your trading strategies, right? Don't try to overcomplicate things because the market generally does like to confuse us. But if you have an overall analysis of simple, then it will work out. So pretty much that's my spiel for you guys there. But let's see, pulling up another name, Rigetti. This one's actually the same thing, right? This one's actually really bullish. These quantum names have been popping up, and they've been declining, they've been going up, especially after what Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang has been saying, right? At first he was saying that we won't see quantum within the next 20-30 years, and they kind of declined, and then he's saying, oh, we actually might see a little bit sooner, and they actually went up. These are pretty much speculative names, although the science of it is slowly starting to become a reality. Being able to have the overall code of the computer be ones and zeros at the same time would exponentially just blow out the speeds, right? The speed of the computers, the processing, the calculations. It would be an absolutely intense game changer for the overall, especially now with if we've seen this in AI, right? It would just be a game changer. So these names are speculative right now, but I think this may be the next play here on the overall market. With AI leading first, right? We saw Nvidia leading. Now this may be a shift now towards maybe quantum leading the overall market towards the next bull run, right? So we have to keep a close eye on these names, right? And also their earnings, right? Their fundamental, their financials. See how they do, and see if they're really, we don't care right now if they're profitable. We don't want to see the revenue growth increase, and also as well kind of see their operatings. But on intraday here, same thing, having the pre-market high, pre-market low. We found support there. We captured some liquidity. We gained above it, breaking high close. We recuperated above VWAP, same thing, and that was along 1130, targeting the next pivot point area of resistance. And guess where we found the resistance? Right here. That's where we found it. We actually broke up of it for a little bit, but when that would have been obviously resistance level. We actually pulled back towards VWAP exactly, almost to the penny, and that was another buying opportunity. And now we're going towards the upside and possibly going now towards $12 flat, which is this next area of resistance, and is also matching not just this flat level of $12, which is an important psychological level, but it's also matching here the R3 or the overall resistance here, which is quite nice to see. So Rigetti's strong on the day, and as long as we remain above the 50, you should be looking for longs, right? So very important name. Looking at Amazon, actually it's bearish on the day, quite surprisingly, but on the long term I'm bullish on this name. On the daily, this is setting up actually as a swing trade if it does have the condition of breaking of the 225. We actually have the trade of the week there on the Uplift Markets newsletter, where we give a little bit deeper dive on our Amazon outlook and why we're bullish on that name and why it can achieve the price targets that we have established for it, towards the upside. So feel free to subscribe, like I said again, to the Uplift Markets newsletter, where we provide those trades for you guys already researched and with full numbers and technical. We set aside the news. We don't care about the news. We only care about what the numbers say, and what they overall allow us to tell us about the market and implement the strategies around those numbers, not around the news, right? Because they're just noise. You got to filter out the noise here. So, but on the day here, looking at Amazon here, we have what is this? Fibonacci's. Okay. So looking at this, same thing, right? We have a pre-market low, same thing. So we just ignore that, right? We don't know that it's going to happen. So a pre-market high, you can say here, of 225 and a pre-market low of 222. And the same thing happens, right? So let's see, maybe that, add some text. So simple as saying, same thing case, right? Long at break of 224 level, short at break of 222.85 level. right? And the market comes, opens, right? See that when we see that we're below the 50, this break here, so 222 break, and that's where that would have been the short. And just seeing that same thing, stop loss could have been at this high, obviously, because that's the most recent and relevant lower high, and it's going with a trend structure. Once we identify a trend, we continue with the overall fundamentals of it and just kept declining, right? So this would have been a very profitable trade, and this is where we are now, and we're actually finding some support here on Amazon. So maybe this may be a long here on Amazon, because we're seeing the volume slowly start to decline on the sell side and slowly starting to pick up here on the buy side here. So this was actually looking pretty well, pretty bullish. You won't actually have to do that there. Let's see. Not too bad there. But yeah, this team is looking really bullish. I'm liking it. I'm really favored here on the longer term time frame here on the daily. Obviously, it's declining on the 5 minute, right? But on the swing trade, it's looking pretty well. And I'm liking this name at all, pretty much. Looking now at Riot, same thing. This name, wow, absolutely amazing. On the 5 minute, the break of the pre-market high, same thing, bullishness. We tested again the pre-market low. Seeing these fractals, the same setup again and again and again, right? We kind of pull back towards the pre-market support. We found buyers there, 1067. We come back. We break above the pre-market high. We also break above and recuperate above the 50 EMA and VWAP, and that was a long break, 1085, targeting obviously R2, and now looking it's going towards R3. So it's very important to look for these names that have volume, that are actually being in a trend, that have the possibility of trending on the day, identifying the main trend, and just following the technicals, having a simple setup, and that increases your profitability and your pretty much win rate. So I'm really bullish as well on Riot here on the day, as we are above the 50 EMA, the VWAP as well. So if the stock ever does decide to pull back, then we may find some support around this zone, but it's pretty much, I don't believe so. I don't think it's gonna reverse that heavy. You'll probably find some resistance towards here, some supply at 1150, pull back maybe towards 1124, and find those buyers again at those key levels right there. Let's see, now moving on towards INMB. This name here actually didn't even break. So when we have, and this is a very nice strategy here to kind of filter out ranging markets. I mean, unless you're a range trader, it's kind of beneficial for you guys for the range trades. But we have the pre-market low here, and you can see a pre-market high here. If we remain between those, the market or the overall, the stock is going to be rangy, right? Because we have pretty much momentum equality, and there's no decisive break above or below a key area. So seeing this stock open and be between obviously the pre-market high and pre-market low, it tells us that this stock is going to be pretty much ranging, right? And we don't want that, right? And generally you can say that underlying it's bearish on the day because it's below its 50 and below its VWAP. So we don't want to be bullish on this name quite yet, right? 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Yeah, it's not looking too bad though. We'll see how that reacts there, like that. But overall, we'll leave it at that for today. We already ran through every single name that obviously has been running, and obviously could run on the day. As always, if you like the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe as well to the Uplift Markets to get these key setups and detailed breakthroughs before they hit YouTube. And as well, be on the lookout for the video today coming out at 1, where we're going to be breaking down the best setup here, and also one of the stocks that's been heavily favored here by institutions, and that will be SoFi, which the video will be coming out today at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So be on the lookout, where we will give you guys a little bit more of an insight on that name and break things down. So apart from that, I hope you guys have a nice day, and we'll see you guys